Hello everyone, I'm going to do a sample weather briefing to see if I can do this correctly. So this is for today, September 17th to 25 for the United States. So just a summary, and I'll show these on the maps in a minute or two. We have a potent shortwave trough over the, Wyoming and western Nebraska, with attendant weak series of low pressure along the front. And then to the north, we have a stationary front, and to the southwest, we have a cold front. And then in the mid-Atlantic, off the coast, we have a closed upper level low and an occluded front in northeast Virginia. It's very weak, so it's kind of interesting. You don't usually get weak low pressures closing off. And then you have showers and embedded thunderstorms from this low from the mid-Atlantic to southern New England. The western United States is dominated by troughing because we just had a trough go through, so colder temperatures and lower dew points. And between these two storm systems, we have high temperatures and elevated dew points in the deep south and in the upper Mississippi River Valley and the Ohio Valley, indicating conditions potentially conducive for showers and thunderstorms, and in the lower Midwest, ahead of that cold front, potentially severe weather. And we also have Florida, we have some showers and thunderstorms associated with some shortwave energy. So here you can see the it starts as a cold front in Canada, but then you can see that the reds and blues alternate. That means it's a stationary front coming into Nebraska. This particular low center here is the main one, and then to the south and west you have the cold front. And then here's the low pressure center in the mid-Atlantic, and it is closed off and there is precipitation associated with it, and you can see the occluded front coming out, and then also a cold front and a partial warm front extend from it as well. So here the temperature map. Just notice the lower temperatures in the western United States here. That's because the trough has come through, so now you have colder weather behind. And then here in the central U.S., you have much warmer temperatures because the trough hasn't come through yet. So what we'll see later is winds coming out of the south could be creating some warm temperature advection. So we'll see if that's happening or not. Again, notice the incredibly low dew points in the west, indicative of very little moisture, and then very high dew points in the central U.S., and, mediocrely high dew points in the east because we have the low with moisture over here. So for this map, this is just a surface analysis map. What I wanted to show you is that the wind barbs are very weak. I know this is a hard thing to see, so I'm just going to point out one feature on here because I pretty much point out all the others. They labeled an outflow boundary here because ahead of the cold front there's a mesoscale convective complex that's ongoing, and when that happens you often get outflow boundaries out ahead of those mesoscale convective complexes, and those outflow boundaries can serve as initiation for new storms. So it's important that they outline that. And here's just another example of the winds, and you do see that even though the winds are very calm, it does seem to be coming out of the south. So there probably is some warm temperature advection going on, which is contributing to more moisture and better conditions for severe weather in certain areas. And here is a 500 millibar vorticity map. So here's our trough. This is analysis from last night, by the way, so it's actually further to the south and east this morning, but the isobar is dripping, I'm sorry, the geopotential height line is dipping to the south. That's how you know it's a trough. And I said that this low had closed off. And the reason we know that is because the geopotential line is circle. It's closed in a circle. So that means the low is closed off. And then here's radar. So here you can kind of see, this is the mesoscale convective system that the Storm Prediction Center talks about, and I'll show you that in a minute. You have more thunderstorms to the north here. And then on the other side of the front, you also have precipitation ongoing. It's just not as vigorous as out ahead of the cold front over here. Then you have some precipitation associated with that low. Not as much though, because the low is very weak. And then shortwave energy down in Florida is producing this vigorous precipitation here. Here's satellite. I couldn't get the loop in here, so I had to go with a picture. This is water vapor imagery. Basically, the lighter colors indicate higher cloud tops and more water vapor or more moisture. So obviously in the area that we've been looking at, near that trough in the upper Midwest, you have light green colors and white. That's indicative of more moisture and heavier rain, heavier precipitation. It's not as light with the low over here, meaning that the precipitation is lighter and there's less moisture. And then again, vigorous precipitation over Florida, so lots of greens and whites. Okay, so for the Storm Prediction Center, they currently have a slight risk over southeastern Colorado, the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma, northwestern Oklahoma, and northeastern New Mexico. This area is ahead of the cold front. And, actually, no, I'm sorry. By the time the cold front moves through, they're going to actually be behind it. But there's enough instability and destabilization going on that they're going to be expecting post-frontal severe weather, which doesn't usually happen. But that's what the Storm Prediction Center is calling for. And then to the east, I showed you that mesoscale convective complex that's moving through. They're expecting that to potentially initiate severe weather later on, as long as the cloud cover doesn't inhibit destabilization. They're saying for the post-frontal storms that large hail damaging winds are the main threat. And pretty much the same thing over here, more so the damaging winds, I believe, if I remember correctly, but I'll be getting to that summary in a minute. Here it is. So, yeah, damaging gusts, wind gusts and isolated hail, even in the, where the mesoscale convective complex is. And I already talked about that. So, we're going to move on. And I'm now going to talk about the very short term very quickly. Sorry. Okay. So if I'm literally just going to show two maps. The 500 millibar vorticity map and the surface map. So if you look at the 500 millibar vorticity, here is the trough for the upper Midwest, and here's the closed low pressure for the mid-Atlantic, and the shortwave energy that's creating vigorous precipitation in Florida. If you go ahead, you see that this trough really doesn't move much, but the leading edge of it is moving to the southeast. So those fronts are going to be moving, but the primary upper level low doesn't seem to be moving that much. This seems to just fizzle out. Yeah. The closed low, though, over the mid-Atlantic, again, I told you if it's in a closed stage, then that means it's decaying. So it kind of just fizzles out. So not expecting much there. Florida kind of just seems to get random spurts of shortwave energy. By Friday, it seems like it'll be gone. But, you know, in the summer, Florida kind of gets thunderstorms on a daily basis. I already talked about the severe weather here. I'm sure that's going to be spreading to the east because warm air advection is going to prepare the moisture and all of that. So now let's go to the surface map really quick. Okay, gotta go back. Okay, so this is today, this afternoon. So here's our surface low in the mid-Atlantic. And here's the main area of low pressure associated with the trough, but we have another low pressure. As I said, it's a series of low pressure systems with one main low pressure. And see how vigorous this precipitation gets? This is the severe weather. There's probably going to be a squall line associated with this going into tonight. And squall lines can produce damaging winds. This is the main thing, but also sometimes large hail. And then precipitation is going to make its way into England, and Florida's still going to be touched by that rain. And as we go ahead, here we go. Now the severe weather's moving into the Mississippi Valley, the upper part of it, and even the central and southern part as well, but it is moving to the east, and it does look like it's going to be mainly in squall line mode. It looks like Florida is going to get a break from the rain. New England is not getting any more rain. And now it looks like the southwest on Friday may be exposed to some rain showers, which could be because of the monsoon. We'll have to see about that. So that is the briefing here. So hopefully everything was interpreted correctly, and I'll see you when the actual project is due. Alright, take care. Bye.